Grace and peace be with you. And welcome to Dysart United Methodist Church on this beautiful day. I just want to make a couple of announcements before I'm going to turn it over to the people that are sitting here waiting to make announcements, so that after I do the update on the annual conference, I won't forget to call on them. But filling in for Marilyn Mealhouse today is Mary Aschenbrenner. Marilyn is not feeling well, and so Mary is, instead of being the liturgist, she is being the organist, and I'm going to be the liturgist. And believe you me, it is a lot easier being the liturgist than being the organist. So thank you, Mary. And Mary was also going to be a communion server. So when it comes time for communion, besides Pam and Tom coming up to help serve communion, I need one person to come up to help me serve communion in the back, because Pam and Tom will be serving communion here. We're going to be receiving communion by intinction, and after you receive communion, you may kneel in prayer afterwards. Remember, the table is open, all are invited, and it's especially important today because that's the theme of the sermon, that all are welcome. So, those that have announcements.
Good morning, Becky Lassen, UMW. I am going to be sending around the next quarter sign-up sheet for morning coffee and cookies. So it's July through September. If you feel God asking you to serve in this respect, please put your name on a date that's going to work. Thank you.
Don Schuhart, and I'm speaking for the Memorial Committee. So I'm actually one of the trustees. But if you came to church this morning a little early, you heard the Carillon. And it's on a 30-day trial. It's being tried by the Memorial Committee. And I really can't tell you too much more, but I was the only person here when that was put in. So I'll probably be here a couple more weeks. So if you like it or don't like it or have any kind of response, will you talk to somebody from the Memorial Committee? Rita Carmichael is chairperson, and I really don't know too many that are on that committee. So thank you.
Good morning. Good to see everybody here today. I have with me the clipboard with the sheets on it for signing up for opportunities at ushering. And this is for July and August, and I know a lot of you guys got plans for vacations and traveling and stuff, so while this is wide open, I suggest everybody just jump right in, pick your favorite Sunday or Sundays that you would like to usher, and that way we can all come to church and have a good time, right? Thank you.
All righty. Our communion offering today is going for Justice for Our Neighbors. You'll see the envelope in the bulletin. Justice for Our Neighbors is a free immigration clinic that is sponsored by the United Methodist Church. And Jim and I happen to be volunteers at the first Justice for Our Neighbors office, which was in Sioux City. And we had the privilege of helping interview our very first immigration lawyer. Up until that point, we had been flying an immigration lawyer from Washington, D.C. But those that get the weekly emails, you were able to get, and it's a little echoey over here. I wonder why. Maybe it's because it's picking up on that microphone. I don't know. Maybe if I step over here, it's not echoey, is it? Here it's echoey. I think I'm going to move away from this. I'm going to take all of Marilyn's stuff and move it over to here. Because I have Marilyn's report. Oh, that's much better. Well, we can figure that out some other time. But anyway, Justice for Our Neighbors is that free immigration clinic, and those that get the weekly update, you found all kinds of information and links to that immigration clinic and information about it. Now I'm going to switch gears, and now I'm filling in for, it's echoey here too, isn't it? Nope, okay. I'm going to be filling in now for Marilyn Mealhouse. She wrote up this excellent report on this year's annual conference. She says, this year the annual conference was privileged to have the Rust College a cappella choir perform for us. Rust College is one of 11 African American colleges, and this is the 150th anniversary of the school. The Iowa Methodist Conference has always paid 100% of its apportionment to the school. The offering taking up during conference for Rust College totaled $5,400. There were 4 workshops available to attend one evening, and I chose Change a Child's Story and Backpack Project. No, she didn't, but because I'm going to read on. Both of these workshops concern helping children in our community. Oh, yes, during the laity time, the first night, Friday night, we have a laity session and we have a clergy session. And so at the clergy session, we just had lots of reports. At the laity session, she got to go to these workshops. So there were four workshops available to attend. One evening, I chose Change a Child's Story and the Backpack Project. Both of these workshops concerned helping children in our community. Change a Child's Story, which we did this spring, is designed to help more kids read at grade level. If a child is reading below grade level by 3rd grade, he or she is more likely to drop out of school. Now, let me give you a little background of, remember we were doing Imagine No Malaria and we had a huge goal of $2 million and we made over, we reached $2.5 million. So remember Katie Dawson was here to talk about Imagine No Malaria. Well, Katie Dawson's church now is working on Change a Child's Story, and our goal for the Iowa Annual Conference for Change a Child's Story is 1 million hours, 1 million hours of reading to children over the next 2 years, or have being read to, and 1 million books. 1 million hours of reading, 1 million books. So I hope you're keeping track of all your reading to children. 1 million books. Katie Dawson's church, 2 weeks ago, when their memorial committee dedicated a couple of $1,000 so that the elementary school closest to their church, every single child in that school got five new books. I think we can make this goal. Our goal is 800, is such a small compared to 1 million hours. 880 hours, 880 books, and we're well on our way. So back to her report. I told Marilyn I would just elaborate on 2 things. One, Change a Child's Story, and the Healthy Church Initiative. The Backpack Project is aimed at helping children of low-income families have food available on the weekend when they're not in school by sending a food-filled backpack home with them from school on Friday afternoon. I do not know if this project is done at the Dicer Geneseo Elementary, but it is utilized in inner-city schools. During the memorial celebration, Bill Ballard's name was read. This past year, there were 12 small rural churches closed. The General Conference authorized a new hymnal to be developed and ready in 2 years. Bishop Julius Trimble, in his Episcopal address to the conference attendees, said there are 3 kinds of prayer. Wow, no more malaria, UMCOR, summer camps. 2, help. Lord, if you get me out of this situation, I'll never miss another day in church. Or felt like you were the only one fighting for a cause. 3, thanks. Has God been good to you? Have you experienced healing in your life? When you received a gift, say thank you. During the service of ordination, Alan Kraft from LaPorte City was ordained as an elder. Alan has held a part-time appointment while finishing seminary. He is the minister at Lamont. Much progress has been made in the fight against malaria. When this project started, every 8 seconds, a child died from malaria. Today, every 2 minutes, a child dies from malaria. Now, it's still sad that every 2 minutes, a child dies from malaria, but a big difference from 8 seconds to 2 minutes. The Iowa Conference has contributed $69 million. Now, the whole General Conference has contributed $69 million for no more malaria. Women at the Well is the United Methodist Prison Congregation located at the Iowa Correctional Institute for Women in Mitchellville. It has been in existence for 10 years. They celebrated their 10th anniversary. Pastor Lee Schott serves as the minister and has service every Thursday evening, which 2 of our folks have been to. Jane and Larry Keys, missionaries supported by our local UMW and our local church, was introduced. They went to Africa in 1976 and are planning to return. Young people are being trained to do the work the Keys have been doing. Jane and Larry will be in our church on July 31st in the afternoon. This is a Sunday, and also Thelma Brandt's birthday. She wrote that. Okay, 2 very important things happening that day. During the retirement service, You didn't get mentioned. What are we going to do? Good thing Marilyn's not here. During the retirement service, I may be thinking about this. During the retirement service, 25 pastors retired. During the ordination service, only 5 pastors were ordained. When appointments were announced, there were many had delayed appointment beside their name. Judith Bonet, Pastor Judith Bonet of the Wesley United Methodist Church in Vinton, was one of those retiring. She will be missed. Traer is receiving a new pastor, Pastor Martha Rose Mary Bennett. Pastor Linda has been reappointed to Dysart. The budget for 2016 to 2017 was approved at $14,171,974 and 15 cents. No, I just added 15 cents. Was voted upon and passed 821 to 39. This represents a decrease from last year's budget. Special offerings were taken for the pages who worked very hard at conference, the diakonos. And we get the word out, but we think that Parker Wilson would make an excellent diakonos. Excellent. So get that word out. He doesn't know it yet, but we think he would make an excellent one. Special offerings are taken for the pages, which are the diakonos. $6,459 collected, and the pages gave 5% of the amount to the American Diabetes Association, 5% to the National Autism, and 5% to the American Cancer. High school age members might want to consider applying to be a conference diakonos next year, especially Parker Wilson. An offering was taken for the Flint, Michigan water problem. It amounted to, she loves numbers, by the way. I watched her write down all the numbers. $3,387 and would provide 847 cases of water. In closing, I would like you to think of one 6-letter word, prayer. Prayer is like water. It quenches our thirst. Prayer provides a safe place. Without it, we'd be exposed. Prayer heals. Prayer reminds us God is everywhere. And I did get a little confused about that workshop because she had a second opportunity to go to a workshop, and she went to the Healthy Church Initiative workshop. And there are brochures in the back about it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it with the SPRC tomorrow night and the church council about the Healthy Church Initiative. The first step is, all we need is 5 people, lay people in the congregation, to be with other people from other local congregations to attend peer learning. Just read books together, share your experiences together, because what you experience in this church, decline in Sunday school, but increase in other ministries, is exactly what other churches, and sometimes you can feel alone in that. So that's the first step. And then if you want to go the next step, you would have a consultation. And then if you want to go the next step after that, you would have a coaching session. You would get prescriptions and you would approve those. Next week, for those that are going to be here, you could ask Jamie Cook all about that after worship. Jamie Cook is the chairperson of the church council at Geneseo, and he's going to be your guest preacher next week. And he plays the trombone. And he's going to be playing it at the last hymn. So you're going to be in for a real treat. And so those that have more questions about Healthy Church Initiative, Geneseo went through all 3 steps, and they just were awarded a certificate for completing all of that. So brochures in the back. I think that is everything we really wanted to cover about annual conference. And now I am going to switch to the role that I thought I was going to be playing today. And that is, we are a people gathered together by a sign. And that sign is the water of our baptism. It is a sign that we are God's reconciled and forgiven people. And as God's reconciled and forgiven people, let us stand and worship God by singing, "Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place." Please remain standing and join with me. We gather today in the presence of the God of relationships. Who invites us into community. We gather today in the presence of the God of love. Who grants us ears to hear. We gather today in the presence of the God of justice. Who grants us courage to act and speak when we see a need. So come, let us worship God, and let us continue worshiping by singing of God's love in the Brian Wren hymn, "How Can We Name a Love," which is found on page 111 in the red hymnal. And the words, as you can see, are also up on the video screen. may be seated. Hospitality to Jesus appears to take precedence over a person's past sins, while other gospel accounts of Jesus' anointing focus on the cost of the perfume and its potential benefit to the poor. Luke concentrates on Jesus' authority to forgive sin and the woman's faith. Hear these words from the gospel according to Luke, and I'm actually going to be reading from the Common English Bible, and what you're going to see up on the screen is the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version, and the version that you have in your pews is called the Good News. So you'll be able to see firsthand how there are a couple of words that can be translated in a couple of different ways, and that changes the meaning of the scripture. So one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to eat with him, and after he entered the Pharisee's home, he took his place at the table. Meanwhile, a woman from the city, a sinner, discovered that Jesus was dining in the Pharisee's house. She brought perfumed oil in a vase made of alabaster. Standing behind him at his feet and crying, she began to wet his feet with her tears. She wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured the oil on them. And when the Pharisee who had invited Jesus saw what was happening, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would know what kind of woman is touching him. He would know that she is a sinner." And Jesus replied, "Simon, I have something to say to you." "Teacher, speak," he said. A certain lender had two debtors. One owed enough money to pay 500 people for a day's work. The other owed enough money for 50. And when they couldn't pay, the lender forgave the debts of both of them. Which of them will love him more? And Simon replied, "I suppose the one who had the largest debt canceled." And Jesus said, "You have judged correctly." And Jesus turned to the woman and said to Simon, "Do you see this woman? When I entered your home, you didn't give me water for my feet, but she wet my feet with tears and wiped them with her hair. You didn't greet me with a kiss, but she hasn't stopped kissing my feet since I came in. You didn't anoint my head with oil, but she has poured perfumed oil on my feet. This is why I tell you that her many sins have been forgiven. So she has shown great love. The one who is forgiven little loves little." And then Jesus said to her, "Your sins are forgiven." The other table guests began to say among themselves, "Who is this person that even forgives sins?" And Jesus said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace." And soon afterwards, Jesus traveled through the cities and the villages, preaching and proclaiming the good news of God's kingdom. The 12 were with him, along with some women who had been healed of evil spirits and sicknesses. Among them were Mary Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had been thrown out, Joanna, the wife of Herod's servant Chuza, and Susanna, and many others who provided for them out of their resources.